welcome all of you to this press briefing. Like our director had mentioned, this is a meeting that was called, an extraordinary bankers committee meeting was called for 10 a.m. this morning for the CEOs of banks and the Central Bank of Nigeria to deliberate about how we can think about how to operationalize most of the decisions that have been reached in the last 2 weeks about how to deal with the health and economic and financial implication of COVID-19. So you can see seated even in the hall here are some of the CEOs of the Nigerian banks. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You will recall that in the last 2 weeks, the monetary and fiscal authorities in Nigeria have been holding a series of consultations and round tables with critical stakeholders to consider several scenarios and optimal responses on the impact of COVID-19 on the global and the Nigerian economies. Indeed, the CBN has had cause to address the press twice before, and this press conference is the third in the series by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Today's meeting with the Bankers Committee, comprising mainly CEOs of Nigerian banks, dealt with the impact of COVID-19 on the banking system in particular and the economy in general. The committee discussed the significant health and economic crisis caused by the novel coronavirus, which has resulted in escalating worldwide infections, deaths, disruptions in global supply chains, travel restrictions, and turmoil in the international financial markets. It further noted the policy responses across governments and central banks around the world, including Central Bank of Nigeria. It was resolved that the CBN and the banking industry will collaborate at this critical moment with one coherent strategy to provide confidence to the customers, counterparties, the public, and most importantly, put Nigeria first. The industry has learned lessons from previous crises, including the 2008 global financial crisis and the oil price slump of 2016, which will be applicable and position the industry to better deal even with this crisis. The industry resolved that profits will not be primary motive at this time. Rather, preserving confidence, financial stability, and support for the economy will be the overriding objective. Engagements will be held with correspondent banks, trade creditors, trading partners regarding existing letters of credit and trade commitments. Let me reiterate, we will be holding engagements with our correspondent banks and trading partners. In 2016, when we had the same incident, we held these engagements with our trading partners, with our correspondent banks who provide trading lines to customers through Nigerian banks. During those engagements at that time, we were very clear and told everyone that there is no need that everybody should rush to the door at the same time. We were very clear and we told everybody that in as much as we agree that is a commitment for letters of credit and trade transactions that have been conducted by Nigerian banks on behalf of their customers, that those obligations will be met. Yes, they will be met, though slowly, but the important thing is that they will be met. That was the commitment we made in 2016. And I'm happy to say that today there is no trading partner or correspondent bank that will say that in 2016 the outcome was that they lost money. Nobody, no correspondent bank, no trading partner lost money because we were able to deal with those issues involving letters of credit, bills for collection. All the transactions were all conducted in an orderly manner to ensure that they got all their monies paid. We are saying even at this time that there is no need for anybody to panic. We have a responsibility. We'll be dimensioning the size of all those commitments and obligations, and all those trade creditors and counterparties. I see this opportunity to say once again that they will be paid all their obligations. There is no need for any of them to panic. Just like we succeeded in ensuring that they were all paid in 2016, and I'm saying once more, they will be paid, but we have to be orderly in this process. Okay? The industry is committed to resolving these commitments in a comprehensive and orderly manner. There will be transparent and open communication with all counterparties. In view of the significant disruption of the global supply chains, the Bankers Committee advises Nigerians and companies to begin prioritizing their import needs and focus more on sourcing raw materials and inputs locally. Indeed, there is no choice but to focus on sourcing your raw materials locally, because from information available to us, the various lockdowns that are happening in different parts of the world, all countries are locking their borders and making it difficult for even raw materials and inputs to leave their borders. So therefore, it means we do not have any choice but that we must look inwards at this time, particularly now that we can say that those inputs and raw materials can be sourced locally. The Bankers Committee noted the success of Central Bank of Nigeria's 43 items policy and encouraged it to strengthen it and other measures targeted at export promotion and or import substitution to position Nigeria as a key global producer and build a self-sufficient economy. The committee further discussed the financial system's implementation and operationalization of the policy measures earlier announced by the CBN, including 1. Additional moratorium of 1 year on all CBN intervention facilities. 2. Interest rate reduction on intervention facilities from 9 to 5%. Creation of 50 billion naira targeted credit facility for affected households and SMEs. 4. Granting regulatory forbearance to banks to restructure terms of facilities in affected sectors. 5. Strengthening the loan deposit ratio policy, which is encouraging significant extra lending from banks. 6. Improving FX supply to the CBN by directing all oil companies, and here I mean international and domestic, whether you are in the service industry or you are in producing upstream, midstream, or downstream, or related companies, to sell their foreign exchange to Central Bank of Nigeria and no longer to NNPC for purposes of funding even imports of petroleum products, given the new policy on what's it called again? On price modulation. 7. Activation of the 1.5 trillion naira Infraco project for building critical infrastructure in Nigeria. 8. Additional 100 billion intervention facility in healthcare loans to pharmaceutical companies, healthcare practitioners intending to expand or build capacity. 9. 1 trillion naira in loans to boost local manufacturing and production across critical sectors of the Nigerian economy. The combination of these measures, ladies and gentlemen, amounts to over 3.5 trillion naira in stimulus to the Nigerian economy to ameliorate the pains arising from COVID-19 health and economic crisis. Given that this crisis is first and foremost a public health crisis, we are paying particular attention to our health industry. As aforementioned, global supply chains have been disrupted, including dominant drug supply channels from China, India, and Pakistan. In fact, many countries have or are planning to ban export of drugs and medical supplies from their countries. Clearly, we have no other choice but to produce these items locally. As a result, the committee has identified a few key local pharmaceutical companies who shall be granted Naira and foreign exchange funding facilities to support procurement of raw materials and equipment required to exponentially increase local drug production in Nigeria. And these loans will be granted in line with our existing procedures at single-digit interest rates for long tenures, including granting the necessary moratorium. These include, but are not limited to, Emzo Pharmaceuticals, Fitsin Drugs, GSK, May and Baker, Unique Pharma, Swiss Pharma, Niemet, Saga, Orange Drugs, Dana Pharma. I also know that it's called Max Nigeria Limited. Now, I must say on the pharmaceuticals, in the course of our meeting, the Honorable Minister for Finance, Budget and National Planning had cause to call in, and she specially requested that we pay particular attention to the health sector, and the fiscal authorities are willing to provide necessary incentives and waiver that should encourage pharmaceutical industries to come back alive again in Nigeria. Our plan is to see to convening a meeting in the course of next week with these pharmaceutical companies, so that we can very, very expeditiously and quickly think about how we could immediately begin to think of how to import needed raw materials, expand their plants and machineries, so that Nigerian pharmaceutical industries can begin to be locally self-sufficient and reliant again on Nigeria. Those are some of the issues that we raised, and I thought we should highlight them to the members of the press.